It's good to be here, although I'm not sure how I'll be received, especially after the presenter just now speaking about compliance and readiness, and we need to take stock of where we are, and the fact that when I look around the room, I'm not sure if I'm the only government agency here, and it's a government agency that impacts directly with perhaps every single one inside here, right? Once you're born, and even if you weren't born in Jamaica, once you want to do business with Jamaica through citizenship matters and stuff, you really have to deal with the civil registry. And so it's good to be here. And my story this morning, and I'm calling it a story because that's what it is. And I took over at the RGD in 2020, in February exactly. And as fate would have it, a month later, there was the first confirmed case of COVID in the island. And for those of us who are not aware, the RGD has an island-wide network. We are in every single parish except for one, and we have a presence at the bedside. And when COVID arrived, my staff started to freak out. One, because there was some amount of ignorance, not knowing how to deal with it, not knowing how severe it is, right? And also, they wanted us to do things quickly to minimize and mitigate whatever risk exposure that they would face. And I used that push to do what I believe was the beginning, and we continue to embark on our digital transformation. So for those who may not be aware, because most of us only deal with the RGD when you need your birth certificate or when you get married and stuff like that, right? But I always laugh because if one of you in here get a call from an auntie overseas or somebody overseas saying, I want to file for you and you need your birth certificate, right? Then, a lot of persons come down to the agency for that. But in a real way, most persons who demand the services of the RGD, we consider it a derived demand. Most persons don't necessarily want their certificate just to look at it. They want their certificate because it facilitates further business. And it is the further business that drives the demand for the birth certificate. So the RGD, of course, is a government agency, and we register all life events. Some persons will call it vital events, and the RGD supports demographic planning by the government. So we do share a lot of data with Statin, with PIOJ, with other government sectors, and even with private sector agencies. They will write and they will request data. Most of the data that we share, though, is aggregate data. We rarely share personal data, right? But we are in the business of data sharing, and so your presentation is apt for us today. The RGD is also responsible for the safekeeping of all public records. Digital transformation. The Sunday before I started at the RGD, I read an article in the Gleaner, and it said that only CEOs that are willing to be digitally bold will succeed in this era, right? And I read that article, and as a young CEO, perhaps one of the youngest CEOs in government, I wanted to make my mark and make a difference. And I thought, why not, but push along the lines of technology. So I went to my staff and I sold them this vision of digitally bold. And we told them that while we are going to be digitally bold, our strategy is delivery. What our customers want is service. And our customers want the service in the easiest possible way. So we simply ask the question, everything that we are doing now, is there a digital, online, or electronic version for it? Right? Because in a real way, I know I don't want to go to the RGD and stand up in a line all day to wait for a service if I can go online and access the same service. I don't want to go into a bank and wait all day if I can go online or elsewhere and access the service. So that's what I asked. Let us look at what we are doing now and identify those services that can be pivoted to the online platform. So in building out our digitally bold strategy, we looked at 8 digital era competencies that the organization had to either be trained in, be sensitized to, or in some cases, we purchased those skills. And one was user needs. We had to look at what our users were demanding of us. Next, privacy, security, and ethics. We also had to rely on a multidisciplinary team. Now, many times we think digital transformation and we think IT, but it spans beyond that. There's the legal side of it. There's the operational side of it. We also have to ensure that we are continuously, iteratively improving. I call it agile approach. We have to take an agile approach. I know this is government and it may not seem that way, right? And government may be seen even now as a bureaucratic body that sticks to, specific fixed rules and stuff like that. But nonetheless, in order for transformation, we have to adopt an agile approach. We have to drive the change uphill. Now I can tell you, I got some resistance, persons, they were saying, boy, Mr. McFarlane, you just come here changing up everything all at the once. And I say, yeah, but we need to move towards this. And if it is that you can convince me not to change, I'm willing to listen. Nobody came back. Nobody was able to come back with a credible argument why the changes that we are pushing forward would not work. Transparency was also key. The data that we have is also very important. Now, the RGD has over 7 million records dating back to the 1600s, right? That's how deep in fact, there's no other repository in the country, none, that deals with the wealth and the depth of data that we deal with, and it's personal data. And of course, we have tech fluency. Now, the truth is, most of our software solutions are created in-house. There are a few, though, that, for want of a better word, might be a bit beyond the capabilities of our programmers, and so we buy those. But a lot of the solutions are created in-house. So this is our local network. And when I looked at this, if I was to stick with this, I would not have moved towards a digital space. Because really and truly, if the diaspora is just as big in terms of population-wise as those who live in the country, then really and truly, to have 10 offices island-wide is not good enough. Can't be good enough. How do you tell the man in London or the man in Dubai that in order to do business with the RGD, they need to fly all the way to Jamaica? Makes no sense. So this is our market space. And because this is our market space, we have been compelled to move into the virtual market space. I'm now going to brag a little bit about the services we offer. I won't be long. I don't want to bore you. So we offer registration of births. Now, many persons confuse the registration of birth with a birth certificate. Two different things. Just like persons confuse the registration of a death with a death certificate. So we have a lot of persons, they come to the RGD and they say they want the pink slip, which is the burial order. And they figure that then when they get that and they are able to put the body in the ground, that's the end of it. And then they end up to an insurance company, for example. And the insurance company says, where's the death certificate? And they say, I have it, man. And they take out the pink slip. The insurance company says, no, that's not it. Right? So we do the registrations of vital events. And then, after a registration of a vital event is completed, we go on to process certified copies of those events. And these are the products that most persons know: the birth certificate, the marriage certificate, the death certificate, right? There's also the adoption certificate. There's also a stillbirth certificate if customers want that. Now, the very first change I made at the RGD, 1 month after taking over, and about a week after the first COVID-related death, was to ask my staff, why is it that the burial order has to be manually written up and issued? In COVID time, why is it that the information can't be done electronically, the burial order drafted and sent? We wouldn't send the burial order, but we would send the customer some code, through email also, and then they can log on to our system, enter those credentials, and verify the burial order. And they could, and again, ask the question, nobody could tell me why not. So I said, excellent, go get it done. And that was the first thing we did as we started on our digitally bold journey. We started to issue electronic burial orders. And what that did, it meant that, and especially for persons who die and is COVID-related or COVID suspected, it meant that those persons did not have to come into the RGD location, whether it's at the hospital or in the branch, to request and get the burial order. And that took off, and when we saw the success of that, you know, we were never going to turn back. We have our outtamany search. No, many of us will recall the genealogical research product that we have. Because we have this rich database, we offer a service akin to Ancestry.com, where persons can track their lineage, you know, track your mom, your dad, all of those things. To the point where, and also because we collect information on morbidity, we can also provide information about, you know, the likely cause of death and stuff. So if members of your family have a history of heart disease or, you know, whatever the case may be, there are people who find value in those things. And so what we did was to rebrand it, make it Jamaican. We call it the outtamany search. This was then launched in December last year, so it's still a relatively new, newly branded product. But this product is also accessible online. So you don't need to come into the RGD to apply and to pay for these services. Other services that we offer, we do recording of documents. So the RGD is in charge of recording several documents, such as deeds, conveyances, and powers of attorney. In fact, there are many persons here who would be familiar with deed polls and how we do a deed poll. Now, the funny thing is, while the deed poll can be drafted by any competent individual or body, that deed poll is not recognized legally until it is recorded at the RGD, right? These are some of the services now that we are rolling out in terms of enabling persons to apply for these services online. We also do record updating through amending records. The truth is, from time to time, you know, a person may need to make amendments. And normally when those persons make amendments, they would have to come in and, you know, print the documents, sign up the documents, take them in and stuff like that. What we did in February 2021 was to migrate all of that online. So you stay where you are and, you know, your name is spelled incorrectly, right? And you want to have that adjusted. You apply online, you download the forms, you have them completed, you have them notarized, and you upload the forms, you pay online, and literally, unless it is that, you know, we need some additional information, you won't hear from us until it's time for you to come in and collect your certificate. And I think that is a big win, and a big win especially for persons who live overseas, who would many times have to engage the services of a family member or some courier service, and those persons would charge. Right, so the persons in the diaspora have expressed significant gratitude for this particular type of intervention. The RGD also offers what we call a registry wedding product. Now, as the deputy keeper of the records, I can tell you that the RGD records about 18,000 marriages per year. In essence, what I'm saying is that in Jamaica, annually, there are about 18,000 marriages. All right? And I can tell you that of those 18,000 marriages, about 8,000 of those marriages take place at one of our 10 locations, island-wide. Right? So that's a decent enough market size. That's because it's affordable, eh? Right? So what we did with COVID time, and we had to restrict the numbers, I said, look here, man. If 10 individuals used to come for the wedding, and now only 4 can come, stream the thing. Why not stream it? And so we started to stream it. And then we took it one step further. And I said, listen, of the 8,000 people getting married at the RGD, you know, about 3,000 of those weddings per year is persons who fly in from overseas and get married. I'm saying, imagine if customers could go online, book their appointment, pay for their appointment, upload their supporting documents to say that they are legally allowed to get married, and we vet all of that, And then all the individuals need to do is visit the RGD, say I do, and then leave. Right? Before, somebody would have to be making 2 or 3 trips to the agency to sort out the wedding. Now, they only need to make 1. And that is to come on the day of the wedding. Right? So again, that is efficiency, that is savings, and that's the part that we will continue to move on. So these are the lists of our online services. Now, can I tell you that when we started, well, it's not me, but I have to put it with when I started, because I was not the decision maker prior. So when I became the primary decision maker, the online services that the RGD offered stopped at applications for birth, death, and marriages. In the year since 2020, we have increased that by over 120%. In addition to increasing the online reach of services, what we have done as well is to try to increase the avenues through which our customers can access the RGD. So I'll be the first to admit that the RGD has an issue with the phone line. Right now, we are procuring a call management system, so it's not lost on us. However, what we have done other simple things. We have now dedicated WhatsApp lines with dedicated persons manning those lines. We have a live web chat. You log on to our website, www.rgd.gov.jm. Immediately, a chat window pops up, and it is manned real time between 8:30 and 4, Monday to Friday. Right? So we have put in place those additional avenues through which persons can contact us. In addition, we have also put in place a solution where once you make an application, you can go online, you enter the tracking number, and you will see in real time where your document is in terms of the stage of processing. Right? So because most of the persons who call us, they really just want to know, hey, where are you? Will it be ready on time and stuff? And if they can see it, then they don't need to speak with a customer service rep. They just want the information that's there. So these are the things that we have done to make service and access to our services much easier. So what's next? You're going to hear it here first. We are continuing to expand our online and digital service offerings. So, starting July, the 1st of July, we are going to roll out some do-it-yourself kiosks. So when persons come to the RGD, if they have all the relevant information, they can go to a little section and they can apply for their certificates. But you know what the end vision is for that? To have these kiosks placed in passport office, in tax office, right? Because guess what? We understand that our service is a derived demand for other services. So many times it's when you go to the NIS to sort out your benefit, you know, whether for yourself or for your mother, and you realize, oh, something wrong, your mother's certificate don't have on the surname. And then what? You make your way to RGD, no. Step over there, there's an RGD kiosk over there. If you have the information, go right ahead. Make the application, right? That's joined up government, right? Good. I had to dance for that one, you know. I was there, you know. I didn't want to ask for it explicitly, but I got it. So thank you very much, right? In addition, we are rolling out the ability for our mothers to apply online for the first free birth certificates. Now, believe it or not, while persons can apply online for regular birth certificates, up to now, it is not a function that has been extended to new mothers or mothers with new babies, right? And it is so sad because guess what? It's 34,000 women give birth in Jamaica every year. 34,000 women, right? And so if I can make the lives of these 34,000 women easier by then sitting down, baby in hand, take up their phone and apply for their first their birth certificate. Come on, right? I wasn't expecting that, right? We'll also place greater focus on our island record office, which is where we do our records of deeds and so on. And also we are in dialogue now with the Bank of Jamaica and some other commercial banks, because we are going to soon integrate the use of the Jamaica digital currency, right? Because it's legal tender, and so once it's there, it makes no sense you come to a government agency where a government legal tender is in place, but it's not accepted. To me, those things just don't make any sense. How did we get here, and what have we learned? Well, it's simple, and my staff know I'm not the brightest person, right? I like things explained to me simply. If you can't explain something to me simply, then I really have a difficulty believing the credibility of where you're coming from, right? So what have we learned? One, we learned that our clientele live as much in the virtual space as they do in the physical space, right? We also learned that there's greater demand for government services to be offered via an online modality. We know that our customers simply want convenience and greater ease of doing business, right? And greater ease and convenience, we see it as improving and increasing the access modality and increasing access times. One of the things I'm questioning now, right, and only 3 members of my staff are here, so they don't know it yet, is why is it that if every other company, private sector, and so open from 9 to 5, then it means if RGD open from 9 to 5, then these persons have to take time off from their job to come to the RGD. So why RGD don't open at different times, right? But it's just thinking. I'm not saying RGD going to open at different times. I understand. I'm thinking about it, right? As service providers, we must anticipate the next great demand. That's really my job as leader, as the CEO. What is it? I need to be a few steps ahead of my customers in terms of what they want, right? So we need to anticipate that. And also, the final question is, what are the online and digital options for these products and services? So folks, I hope I was able to tell an interesting enough story. And please tell the world that the RGD is not the RGD of old, right? It has... it's digitally bold. It's a new face. Yes, many persons still ask me about Dr. Wholeness, right? And she paved the way. Now we are moving forward within a digital space. Thank you for your support. Thank you for listening. Enjoy the rest of the day.